All right, so today we're doing order of operations, or PEMDAS, or whatever you want to call it, and we are going to be adding, subtracting, multiplying different fractions. What they gave us some of these, they were written horizontally, the problems. And so what I have done is, like for number 25, I've rewritten it, and what I did is I took the parentheses, because we have to do those first. I put those off to the side, so we have to add a third and a fifth, and when we get that answer, we have to take it times a half. I just went ahead and wrote this out just so it doesn't take so long to do this video. So the first thing we have to do is we have to add a third and a fifth. If we look at our bottom numbers, we have 3 and 5, they're different. So we have to find the least common multiple of each one. So we have to count by 3s and count by 5s, which number appears first. Well, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 5, 10, 15. So we have to change these both to 15ths. Now, how did we get from 3 to 15? 3 times 5 is 15. So now we have to do the top number the same way. 1 times 5 is 5. Then on the bottom, how did we get from 5 to 15? It's times 3. So we have to do the same to the top. 1 times 3 is 3. And so now we have 15ths and 15ths, so we can add. Well, obviously we're going to have 15ths. What's 5 plus 3? Our top numbers. 5 plus 3 is 8. So our answer to the addition is 8/15ths. And so we just bring that over to multiply it. Now, when we multiply, we look to see if the fractions can be simplified. They can't. And so then we go cross. We have a 1 and a 15. Well, that's simplified. It's a 1. But over here we have a 2 and an 8. Well, I can divide. Is there a number we skip count by that has 2 and 8 in it? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 2. So we can divide these both by 2. So our 8 divided by 2 becomes a 4. And then our 2 divided by 2 becomes a 1. Now that we've simplified it, we just multiply our new tops times the top and our bottom times our new bottom. So our top is 4 times 1, which is 4. And then our bottom is 15 times 1, which is 15. So our final answer for number 25 is 4/15ths. For number 26, we have 9/10 minus 3/10 in parentheses times 1/4. So what I've done is I've rewritten this, 9/10 minus 3/10. This is nice because we have tenths and tenths, so we can go ahead and subtract. Top number minus top number, 9 minus 3 is 6/10. I know that isn't simplified yet. If you want to go ahead and simplify it, that's fine. 6 and 10, we can divide them both by 2, which is 3/5. So I'm going to bring 3/5 up and multiply it times our 1/4. Now, this is simplified, 1 and 5 is simplified, 3 and 4 is simplified. So I can't do anything, so I just do the top times the top and the bottom times the bottom. 3 times 1, 3. 5 times 4, 20. And our answer is 3/20. It cannot be simplified. There's nothing that you can count by that would both say 3 and 20 in it except for 1. And so 3/20 is number 26. For number 27, we have 3/5 plus 1/3 in parentheses times 2/3. All right, so right here is our 3/5 plus 1/3. I notice I have a 5 and I have a 3. Just like before, which is the same 5 and 3, I already know that the LCM of that is 15. So I'm going to change these both to 15 because we have to make them the same. And then how do I get from 5 to 15? Times 3. How do I get from 3 to 15? Times 5. 3 times 3 is 9. 1 times 5 is 5. Now we add. Always check your sign. Make sure you're adding or subtracting. We're adding this time. So 15ths plus 15ths is going to be 15ths. 9 plus 5 is 14. That is simplified. So I'm just going to bring up 14/15ths and take it times our 2/3 now. So I'm going to go look at these. That is simplified. 2/3 is simplified. Now I go corners. 2 and 15. There's nothing that goes into both 2 and 15. 3 and 14. There's nothing that goes into both 3 and 14 except for 1. Can't use 1. So we're just ready to multiply. 14 times 2, you can work it off to the side if you don't know what it is, or you can do 14 plus 14, but the answer is 28. 15 times 3, you can work it off to the side if you don't know the answer, but 15 times 3 is 45. And surprisingly, even though this is a huge number, that is simplified. There is nothing we can skip count by that will say both 28 and 45. Our next one is number 28. We have 8 2/4 minus 1/3 times 3/4. Well, looking at this is a weird one. You can do it one of two ways. You can find the LCM of 3 and 24, which is 24, and you can change it that way. But I just happen to know that 8 and 24, I just happen to see this. And I can see they're both divisible by 8. I could simplify that fraction. I could divide 8 by 8 and 24 by 8. Well, what's 8 divided by 8? 1. What's 24 divided by 8? 3. So really that's a third, or 1/3. Well, what's 1/3 minus 1/3? 0, or 0/3, whatever you want to say, but it's 0. Well, what's 0 times anything? 0. So our answer for this one is just 0. For our next one, 29, we have 5 12s plus a 6. Those are in parentheses, times 5 6. So over here, I've written down my parentheses, 5 12s plus 1 6. We have to find the LCM, least common multiple, of 12 and 6. Skip count by 12s, skip count by 6s. What's the first number that's in both of them? Well, 6, 12, 12. So our LCM is 12. I'm going to change this one to 12. The other one's already 12. You can either move it over, leave it the same, however you want to do it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm just going to leave it the same. I know it's 5 12s. How do I get from 6 to 12, though? Well, that's times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So now I have 5 12s plus 2 12s. Well, 12s plus 12s is going to be 12s. 5 plus 2, our top numbers, 5 plus 2 is 7. So our addition problem is 7 12s. And I'm just going to move that up, because now I have to multiply it. Our second part of the equation was times 5 6. Well, 7 12ths is simplified. 5 6 is simplified. Now I go corners. 6 and 7, those are simplified. 5 and 12, those are simplified. So I just multiply the top times the top now and the bottom times the bottom. 7 times 5 is 35. And then 12 times 6 is 72. And again, these are big numbers, but that is actually simplified. There is nothing other than 1 that you can skip count by where you say both 35 and 72. Last one for today. It's number 30. We have 11 12ths times parentheses 3/4 minus 1/2 parenthesis. All right, so I have my 3/4 minus 1/2. Some of you all know this answer in your head already. That's great. If you don't, I have a 4 and a 2. They're not the same. I have to make them the same. Count by 4s, count by 2s. What's the first number that's in both of them? It's 4. So I'm going to have to change this 2 to a 4. I don't have to change this one. It's already a 4. I'm just going to leave it alone. How do I get from 2 to 4? Times 2. What's 1 times 2? 2. So now I have 3/4 minus 2/4. Well, 4s minus 4s is going to be 4s. Top numbers. 3 minus 2 is 1. So our answer is 1/4, which I'm going to bring up here and take it times the 11 12ths. 1/4 is simplified. 11 12ths is simplified. 1 and 12, catty corner, simplified. 4 and 11, simplified. So we just, nothing to do, we just multiply. 1 times 11 is 11. And then 4 times 12 is 48. And that is our simplified answer, 11/48.